Welcome, everybody, to the American Conference on ESPN. 340 days ago, they met in the American Conference Tournament Championship game. 21 nights from now, the American Conference Tournament gets going from here at XL Center in Hartford. And as of now, these two teams, Memphis and UConn, would meet in the 4-5 game. Both of these teams want to stay in the top 5, because if you are in the top 5, you get to move into the Friday quarterfinals here in Hartford. Memphis and UConn for the second time. Adam Amin, Len Elmore, and we get to watch one of the premier players in the league, Dietrich Lawson.
Absolutely mobile, versatile, and at times even hostile. The 6'9" sophomore is the leading rebounder and has scored more points than anyone in the American thus far, second in average. He's a potential double-double machine every night and just scratching the surface of his skill set.
NBA scouts are looking at this guy as a potential first-round draft pick as well. Remember, Memphis knocked off UConn back early in conference play, but the last 6 games, granted against the bottom half of the league, UConn is starting to find itself after a lot of early season injuries.
Yeah, any way you look at it, they're significantly improved from the last time these two teams met in early January. On offense, 5 guys in double figures in the last 6, and on defense, holding opponents under 40% in those last 6.
The first time these two teams met, 11 Memphis steals, 15 Connecticut turnovers, and they were held to 4 of 20 from three-point range with the Huskies in a game they, at one point, trailed by 20, ended up losing by 9. That was January. Now we're 3 weeks away from the conference tournament right here in Hartford. Kenton Facey along with Jamario Rivers for the tip, and the Huskies will start it up. They started 2-4 in American play, but they've won 5 of 6 to get up to what would be the 5 seed right now. If the tournament started today, Memphis would be the 4 seed, and these two teams would square off in the opening game.
Well, you take a look at Memphis, they'll play a variety of man-to-man primarily, but zone. They look to try to take the ball away from you. 11 steals the last time these two teams met, and they converted those steals into 12 points off those turnovers.
An improved three-point shooting team is Connecticut. Purvis to Brima to start things off with a bang.
You got to like the patience of UConn on that first shot.
Memphis coming off a surprising home loss on Sunday against a hot and cold Temple team. So they've lost 2 of their last 3. They're a game back of Houston for the 3 seed right now. Not a very good three-point shooting team, but still 3rd in the league in scoring. Here is Lawson. A tough shot over Facey and off to the left. A shot clock violation for Kevin Ollie's defense.
You know, Memphis is not the type of patient team that you might expect. They like to get up and down in transition, looking for the quick shots, get their big guys out running as well. You get them in half court, they're a little bit easier to kind of tame, if you will.
Here is Jalen Adams lobbing for Brima.
That's twice now they've gotten the big fella involved, but here comes Memphis.
Tough try by KJ Lawson. Memphis out of sorts in the first couple of trips. They go to Kenton Facey, who's been great in the second half of the season. It's Purvis. He's been red hot as of late. That has been a big reason why Connecticut has started to turn things around. Markel Crawford, really good scorer, top 10 of the league, coming off 17 and 19 in his last 2 games.
And that's what I previewed a couple of minutes ago. Memphis will push the ball up the floor, look for transition opportunities, whether off the bounce in the paint or looking for perimeter shooters.
Here is Vance Jackson, the freshman. He's the trigger man on the outside, but here comes KJ Lawson and Memphis. Nobody picked up Crawford in transition. UConn coming off a win over UCF. And Facey flying to the rim for 2. Kenton Facey, the senior from Long Island Lutheran in New York. Said he's significantly improved over this last 5, 6, 7 game stretch. He's currently got the assignment on Dietrich Lawson, while Brima is guarding Jamario Rivers. Off target from Jeremiah Martin. Offensive rebound, KJ Lawson, and knocked away by Purvis.
Well, solid half-court defense by UConn forcing that perimeter shot. But the offensive rebounding, that's an emphasis that Memphis has the place. As you see the jump shot again in the mid-range for UConn. They're getting all the looks that they want.
Here comes Adams. Exchange with Purvis for three. Rhyme on the backside battling with Dedrick Lawson, who is the top rebounder in the American Conference this year. Tough take by Jeremiah Martin.
And we said it before, if you're not ready, Memphis is coming right back at you. Trying to put a lot of pressure on the transition defense. And just a good job of finding the open man and the challenge by Jeremiah Martin.
Sixth in the conference in assists, top steal man in the American Conference. Coming off a rough offensive game against Temple. He has not been scoring much as of late, but is a very capable scorer.
I told you that Memphis likes to come out and play man, but they will play some zone, which they're in right now, and it's kind of slowed UConn a bit.
There are two defenders checking Brima in that zone. We had to bail out, go back to Purvis, but a very difficult take to the rim. And Dedrick Lawson rebound, and he can bring the ball up. He's kind of like a point forward, and they get a great look from three from Craig Randall, which will force a Kevin Ollie timeout. Memphis takes its first lead. Second meeting of the season between these two. A lot on the line in the conference.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters.
Up the road at Gamble Pavilion, got the $100 bills with Gino Ariema's face on him after the record-setting 100 straight victories for the UConn women. And of course, at one point, this was known as the Mecca of college basketball, as the men and women have won titles in the same season before. UConn women, congratulations to Gino and his crew. They've won the last 4 national championships. They're 25-0 this year. They'll be at Tulane to try to extend the streak on Saturday. Here, Kevin Ollie's bunch got out to a early 5-point lead. Memphis has come back with a couple of outside jumpers to take their first advantage.
Yeah, Memphis has outscored UConn 6-0 in the last 36 seconds as they've been able to get rebounds, push the ball up the floor.
Early trend, we saw half-court offensive sets for Memphis not look as sharp, but when they push the tempo, they seem to get points. That was something Kevin Ollie was very specific with us about earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, that's their comfort zone, the Memphis Tigers, and pushing the ball up the floor. And you saw early, UConn getting the ball to Amita Brima, getting it inside the paint, trying to put pressure on Dedrick Lawson. That's one of the best ways to slow down an offensive star on the other side.
UConn a little bit smaller right now with Christian Vitale, the freshman shooter, on the floor, and Dedrick Lawson running the floor to give Memphis a 3-point lead.
That's terrific play by Martin, though, tracking that ball down, using his quickness to get past the defender.
They've got Jackson working in the post against Markel Crawford, and out of bounds, last touched by Lawson.
And you take a look right there, just a little bit of a mishandle right there, but tracking that ball down. And just a terrific job of getting it down the floor. The big fella runs the floor. He's got a nose for the action, if you will.
Double on Facey, who's in the 5 spot with Brime on the bench right now. Memphis doing a good job of getting out on Purvis.
Well, they've changed up the defense. It's gone from zone to man to zone back to man, and it's really slowed UConn's attack down. Although that time they exercised the patience, and Christian Vitale has really done a nice job the last 5 games, averaging 14 points a game, coming into his own, the freshman.
He's made 17 threes over his last 5 games. Facey with the strip against Dedrick Lawson.
that was good defense by Facey, forcing Lawson behind the backboard.
Well, that was a nice split by Adams, but a great convergence on defense by Lawson and Martin. And running the floor are the Memphis Tigers, and Markel Crawford ends with a layup. The strength of the Tigers is when they are running at 94 feet. Adams was looking for a cutter and ended up picking up the dribble, so he needed some help from Vance Jackson. Adams, good screen by Facey to give him some space, but the long distance two, no good.
Right now, Memphis doing a decent job on the glass. As we see a nice little drop off to get the foul drawn. But again, on the defensive end, excellent block and then lightning quick transition, looking up the floor. You know, that's the secret to it. You saw Markel Crawford when he got possession, looked up the floor and never really looked laterally, as Memphis continues to want to advance and get the ball in the paint.
KJ Lawson, redshirt freshman, but he is the older brother of Dedrick Lawson by a year. Knocks down both free throws to give Memphis its largest lead.
You know, last time these two teams met, Memphis got out rebounded by 21.
Yep.
And that was 17 points, second chance points for UConn. But because Memphis is able to take the ball away like they do right here, that more than makes up for the rebounding deficit as they increase their possession through the steal. And fast break points, 9-0 for the Tigers as they continue to create the turnovers, live ball turnovers, and score in transition.
Yeah, it's one thing to lose the ball out of bounds, and it's a dead ball turnover. When you lose the ball in transition, especially with passes out high, it's almost an automatic two for Memphis.
There you go again, almost.
Facey recovers. They get an open look for Jackson. Facey the rebound. Kenton Facey working hard. Kenton Facey denied, and he'll go to the free throw line. That's where UConn has an advantage, perhaps. When they gang rebound, this is where Memphis has the advantage.
You take a look right, playing the passing lane. They do a terrific job of that overplaying, and everybody, once that ball is loose, everybody in the blue shirts are looking to get down the floor.
4 double-doubles in the last 9 games for Kenton Facey. He has significantly stepped up his game. Mind you, he had 1 double-double in the first 15 games this season.
Remember, we've said it before as we cover UConn, the improvement in this young man's confidence.
Yes.
More than anything, when you see a big man on the block and he's demanding the ball, you know he's feeling it. And when he's also on the offensive glass and time after time, like a pogo stick, going back up, getting it and putting it back, you know he feels that he's ready to play. And Kenton Facey's demonstrated that over the last several games.
Confident defensive play by Rodney Purvis to get to the passing lane. Jawan Durham is on the floor, playing as a big right now. He's a 6'11" freshman out of Tampa. It's Vital flashing to the corner for 3. Comes Memphis. KJ Lawson, everything but the finish. Good offensive rebound by Jamario Rivers. He is the 6th different Tiger to score and give Memphis its largest lead at 7.
It's the length and the athleticism of the Memphis Tigers that's carrying them thus far.
And Brima got an early hook in this game. We haven't seen him in this 4-minute segment. Purvis on the drive, offensive foul. And it'll be Memphis ball on the other side. Has this thing gotten an award yet, by the way? This phenomenal segment that we put together for you. Glenn Elmore is the tall. I am the short. We've got the tall and the short. We'll talk with one of the premier players in this league, Dedrick Lawson, on the other side.
All right, Dedrick, you're the leading rebounder in the American and score more points than anybody at this point in time. So if I'm your opponent, what kind of move do I have to worry about? What's your favorite move?
Remember my favorite play was cross screen, come across to the right block, get it, face up, get down back to the 1-2-1, dribble, turn, and come across the back.
I got to worry about that? That's tricky.
Now, Diedrich, you're one of 5 boys. Your younger brother's on the team with you. You got another younger brother who's on his way up. Both your parents played ball. So what was the competitiveness like in that household growing up?
Man, it was always competitive. It's even competitive now since, like, we are away from the house. And the time that I do spend my little brothers in the gym, I was on play one-on-one, things like that. He swear he can shoot better than me, better than KJ. Got another little brother, he's very athletic. He swear he has the most bounce and things like that. So it's always just an ongoing competitive nature. And KJ, he's the oldest, and Johnny, the youngest, so they be on team playing 2-on-2 versus me and Chandler, and we in Memphis, and me and Chandler, we kind of was just alike, we laid back. And Jonathan and KJ, they are like the more aggressive with the more killer instinct.
I love it.
You did see Keelan, their father, on the bench. He's an assistant coach for this Memphis Tiger team as Randall misses the 3. I like that he was able to identify the difference between he and his brother KJ. KJ a little bit more aggressive, Diedrich a little bit more laid back in their personalities.
Yeah, and the fact that Diedrich knows that, you know, for him to be successful on this level and maybe even the next, he may have to rev up that motor just a little bit more. Because he's got the skill, and now it's a question of having that instinct night in, night out. And, you know, obviously what a gift it is to have Dad on the bench to continue to motivate, as well as to have your brother playing side by side.
Keelan played at UAB and at Lemoyne-Owen. Her mom, Deidre, was a head coach for Lemoyne-Owen. Her younger brother, Chandler, is a sophomore in high school. He's a top 25 sophomore. He's a stud. So expect to see him in the next few years at the collegiate level playing as well. Lenny and I, by the way, are still wearing the same clothes now that we were earlier today.
And by the way, you should have guarded Diedrich Lawson. It would have been the same outcome regardless.
Here's Memphis, largest lead at 7, nearly halfway through the opening stanza. Tough try on the deck and a late in the clock foul on Jawan Durham. SEC, ACC, Kentucky goes on the road coming off that blitzkrieg against Tennessee. They'll take on Mark Fox's Georgia bunch. And then the site of College game day this week is Chapel Hill. Saturday primetime presented by AT&T. Virginia and North Carolina. Virginia, I feel like, and I heard some guys talking about this earlier today, they can struggle offensively at times if London Parentis isn't doing big things night in and night out.
I mean, they've got some guys to score. The bottom line is who's the facilitator. And that's what Parentis really represents. But speaking of that, on this last play, shot clock running down, you got the freshman Durham that switched out on Martin and not recognized the shot clock going down. He's got a guy going baseline. You can't bail him out and give him an opportunity to get to the free throw line.
Yep.
You know, that's an empty defensive possession, giving up easy points.
18-4 run, and Vitale, the freshman, with an aggressive play and a good feed by Jalen Adams.
Now, if I'm Tubby Smith, I'm a little upset, actually very upset with my team. If I'm going to apply full court pressure, I'm not going to leave these kinds of openings. I mean, look how much room there was, not only for the passer to see, but for the receivers to receive. If you're going to press, you've got to take away passing lanes, and you've got to protect that rim, and none of that occurred. And that was an easy 3 points for UConn.
Vitale's got 6 of the 15. And Carl Hess will call a foul against Memphis. I get Diedrich Lawson, and if that is the case, that would be his second. No, it's announced as Diedrich Lawson. I think it's on Craig Randall.
Yeah, he did.
The PA announcer announced Diedrich Lawson. I didn't think that was the right call. And Carl Hess put up 1-2, so it's Randall. Another good look for Vitale. Another offensive rebound for Kenton Facey. With some point-blank shots not going down right now for Connecticut.
Good decision. Once again, Jeremiah Martin recognizing they didn't have numbers.
Shot clock at 7 for KJ Lawson. Working against Facey. Vitale got in the passing lane. Martin gets a look for three, and Brima got a nice breather. He's there for the board.
And again, we talk about UConn vastly improved last 6 games, holding opponents under 40%. And you see why. Pretty good defense on the other end, but Memphis exhibiting some of their own rim protecting.
Martin with the block to give KJ Lawson a chance at the other end. Well defended by Jackson. Came in loose under the rim for Craig Randall. And his second field goal.
Those are just heartbreakers for a coach. Play good defense and do everything correctly, and then the opponent gets a 50-50 ball.
Brima with a tough pass, but a good recovery by Vitale to find Facey. Big swing of momentum here in this first half. The game's been played in a 14-point window already. Trying to go with that backdoor pass from Jeremiah Martin, and here comes Jackson. Vitale, good baseline look, touched every part of the iron. Inside of 8 to play first half, second meeting of the year between these two teams who come in both tied in the loss column in conference play.
And again, UConn continues to play solid half-court defense.
Yes.
Taking away the passing lanes, trying to prevent guys from turning the corner.
Can they clear the glass this time? They do. Here comes Connecticut, which has 6 assists on 7 field goals. That has been an improving part of their offensive game as of late. Martin will pick up the foul as Brima got a good post touch deep. 7:18 to play in the first. Largest lead for UConn, 5. Largest for Memphis, 9. Six-point Tigers lead on the road at the XL Center. Remember, 3 weeks from tonight, the American Conference Tournament will start as we take a look at tonight's Bracket Buzz, brought to you by Cheez-It. And after the American Conference Tournament will be Selection Sunday. And right now, Joe Lunardi has both Cincinnati and SMU, two incredibly high-quality teams, into the field. Houston and Memphis both out. But both of these teams, Houston and Memphis, still have to play SMU and Cincinnati. So chances for quality wins for both of those clubs down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate part about playing in such a top-heavy conference. You know, you've got to find your wins where you can against the big boys, and they don't come too often. But by the same token, you can't afford to lose these games at home. You know, Memphis took care of business at their place against UConn. You know, UConn has to continue to push.
Amina Brima, just a 60% free throw shooter. A soccer player in Ghana growing up, only played organized hoops for about 7 years. Very intelligent young man who for a couple of games in January really looked disengaged. He didn't look like his head was in the game, and he's since recovered from whatever was mentally ailing him that got him out of basketball games, got him into foul trouble. He has been really solid again as of late.
Well, we talked to Kevin Ollie before the game about that very situation, and you know, he mentioned the frustration. The young man knows how important he is to stay on the floor. Went through a bad stretch where he got in foul trouble several games and had limited minutes.
Excellent half-court defensive set again from Connecticut. Facey was out on the perimeter against a guard in Jeremiah Martin.
And we can talk about UConn's offense all we want over the last 6 games, but the real key to their success has been holding opponents to about 65 points per game, as well as under 40% from the field. And that half-court defense right now, with their length, utilizing some discretion, has really helped them.
The blitz on Brima forced the traveling violation. Markel Crawford came over to help. Well, the NBA hits the All-Star weekend. It starts up from New Orleans tomorrow. We've got the celebrity game, and our buddies at the 6. Jamel Hill will coach the East. Michael Smith will coach the West. 7 o'clock Eastern from the Superdome on the ESPN app, and watch ESPN as well. Always looking forward to All-Star weekend. Carmelo Anthony takes Kevin Love's spot for the East. Love, that's another big loss for the Cavaliers right now. We don't have J.R. Smith or Love for the next month at least.
See a couple of guys slipping right there on this end of the floor. There's no slippage there from Craig Randall.
An improved three-point shooter this year. He was 8 of 43 a year ago. He's up around 30% this season, and he's buried 2 already.
Last time these two teams played, Memphis held Jalen Adams and Rodney Purvis to 8 of 33 from the field. And right now, those guys are 1 of 8. So the success in limiting the high scores for UConn has really helped Memphis.
And Dedrick Lawson draws the facey foul and a chance at a three-point play. That is now 2 on facey.
Is that play he used on me? Is that it?
Well, he did go baseline with the right-handed hook, and he did use the glass.
Yeah, he got the screen across, too. Favorite move. At least I didn't foul him. Yeah.
Yep. That 21 and 11 came in the conference championship game a year ago when he had 17 double-doubles as a freshman. 15 and 11 in the first meeting, part of the 17 double-doubles he's put together this year. Top 5 in the country and the most in the American Conference this season.
Yeah, he does a nice job, obviously, of getting good position offensively. So tough because he can shoot with range. You know, he's about a 25% three-point shooter, just enough to keep defenses honest.
The lead is at 11. There's Purvis. As Lenny mentioned, Purvis and Adams trying to get going, and another miss. And a UConn foul. And give it to Memphis. The only guys in Division I averaging 19 and 10. Lawson, Tim Kempton of Lehigh, and one of the best players in the country that not enough people are talking about. Granted, I am biased as an alumnus of the Harvard of the Midwest, Valparaiso, but Alec Peters, without one of his running mates, and Jabril Adekoye, has done a fantastic job keeping Valpo in first place in the Horizon League. Deep try from Randall again, and a big-time first half for the sophomore from Youngstown, Ohio.
And if you don't think that's going to stretch the UConn defense, which is kind of packed it in against Memphis, think again.
Stephen Enoch in off the bench, trying to get aggressive, and he goes to the rim, drawing a foul on Martin, his second.
Look at the defense. It's kind of packed in, the pack line below the three-point line. And Adams gets out there a little too late.
And that wasn't a shallow three by Randall either. He was a foot or two behind the three-point line.
And you can see, obviously, UConn daring Memphis to take those shots. But as I said, Randall knocks down 1 or 2 of those. And you look at the three-point shooting here.
That 30% mark for Memphis this year is last in the conference. So it's not as if they are a prolific three-point shooting team. Randall's a 30% shooter on the season.
Well, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that UConn is packing it below the three-point line.
Yep.
And now you can see a little more attention played at the point of the ball.
They're trying to extend that defense out of the right. UConn has the script flipped on it by Memphis from the three-point perimeter. Tough 2 by Lawson, defended by Enoch. The rebound for Adams, the push for Connecticut. Adams got into a very difficult spot and lost it.
Nice.
Lawson to Lawson. Out to Randall. Backside rebound for Memphis again, and Crawford cashes in. It's a 15-point lead, and Adams is a little bit gimpy.
Yeah, he took a tough fall after that missed layup. And late getting back, and that allowed Memphis to have an advantage break.
Is it his right hip that he was kind of favoring? I just saw his hand go up there, so I wasn't sure if maybe that's what was bothering him. UConn continues to struggle from the outside. And it will be Memphis basketball on the other side. 15-point Memphis lead as we check in with Chris Connor in the studio. CC?
Thank you, Adam. Land Rover halftime report coming up in just a few minutes. Chris Cotter and Kara Lawson will be here with me. Michigan got a big win earlier tonight at the Chrysler Center. We'll show you highlights of that one. What do you make of the first half of what we're seeing here at Excel?
Well, normally it's all about the Lawsons for Memphis, but Craig Randall, the sophomore guard, has 11 points. He shot it well from beyond the arc.
It's all about the Lawsons, isn't it? We'll send it back to the Excel Center after this.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by USAA. Insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community.
Memphis has its largest lead at 15, and you can see the frustrations from the Connecticut offense. Their leading scorer as well, Jalen Adams, wanted a foul, and on this hit to the ground, he seemed to be favoring the right side of his body, really the lower body.
And nobody touched him. I mean, I'm not sure what he was calling for, but you know, he hits that deck really hard, and he's probably got to go in and ice it, if nothing else. And this is a guy that's second in the conference in minutes played at 36 and change. And you know, Kevin Ollie hard pressed to take him off the floor for obvious reasons, but he's got to now.
James Doran, the excellent Connecticut trainer, went back there with him. Dedrick Lawson muscling it up against Kenton Facey for 2.
And he muscled it through some significant contact.
Three minutes to play here in the first. A 13-1 Memphis run, 25-8 since it was tied up at 11. And Jalen Adams on his way back to the floor. 6 on the shot clock for the Huskies. You said it, Adams plays 36.1 minutes per game. Rodney Purvis plays 36.6 minutes per game. So they are on the floor more than anybody else in American Conference games. They need to step up right now, at least Purvis certainly, while he's on the floor. And a step back 3 on cue. His first points of the night.
Remember, last 6 games, UConn's won 5 out of 6. Purvis has shot 52% from the field, 57% from beyond the arc. That's the first bucket he's made in 6 tries tonight.
A little pressure by Connecticut, and they'll get the ball back. Adams will stay on the bench. We'll see if he even sees any time at the end of this first half.
Well, he's flexing it, trying to get loose again.
Yeah, kind of on all fours momentarily, was hopping up and down, trying to stretch out, presumably that hip.
And even when you're young, this place is cold. They got ice on the floor.
Yep, hockey arena.
Yeah, it'll stiffen you up quickly.
Brima, good maneuvering down low by Amita Brima, who's got 7 in the first half.
Yeah, it's puzzling. UConn went to him early, and it paid off, and then they totally forgot about him.
Brima was able to knock the ball loose. He's part of the tie-up, which will keep it with Memphis. And 18 on the shot clock here.
This combination of having sporadic time and his teammates just not looking for him, you know, up until now.
Still Facey covering Dedrick Lawson. It's Brima on KJ Lawson.
A little bit too crowded trying to get the ball to Lawson. They got to get better spacing.
Well, that's a big foul. That's the second on Kenton Facey. Facey, who's done some damage down low in the post, picks up his second.
And again, the seniors got to know better. You're fouling a guy 40 feet from the basket, and you're in the penalty already. You're playing good defense. Play the angle and take it away from him.
And they were late in the clock, too, as Jalen Adams does come back on the floor. He checks in for Facey. Hesse at the free throw line for 1-1. Remember that Adams has been dealing with the flu the last couple of days, as has Vance Jackson. He missed the American Conference opener due to a concussion in the previous game against Auburn. He's taken a lot of contact, a lot of damage this season, has Adams, but continues to play big minutes night in and night out. They need him on the floor to try to come back, as Memphis continues to keep UConn at arm's length.
And again, for the most part, doing an excellent job to keep UConn from turning the corner. as the harassment around the perimeter has paid off.
Rotation to Purvis. A rainbow three is rebounded by Jackson. Good acceleration by Jackson and a late feed for another Brima dunk. And the lead has been cut back to 12. It's been as large as 15.
And if there is such a thing, Amita Brima hiding in the weeds behind the basket in that short corner. And a nice job by Jackson on the penetration, which is something UConn needs more of.
32 combined points in the paint. There's some big bodies for these two clubs. A strip. Brima recovers. By the way, I beg your pardon, a moment ago, I said the largest lead for Memphis was 15. It's 17 at one point in this game. Brima with too much heat on a high pass to Purvis and an unforced turnover.
Now that's big, an opportunity to cut this deficit to double digits or less.
Timeout Memphis. We're back in a half minute. Kentucky's recovered from a bad stretch against the bottom of the SEC. They'll go on the road to Athens to take on Georgia at 6. And then Saturday primetime presented by AT&T. Top 15 matchup, Virginia and North Carolina from Chapel Hill. It'll be the site of College Game Day. And it will be the 100th College Game Day show in hoops on the road. You got to go back 12 years for the first College Game Day show up the road at Storrs, Connecticut. It was so long ago, Jay Billis had hair. If he gets angry at me for saying that, our producer Matt Bartley told me to say. Shot clock and game clock are almost in sync here. And Memphis with a chance to extend on a 12-point lead going into the halftime break. Kessie. The clock is at 1 for Dedrick Lawson, who draws the Brima foul at the end of the first half. It'll have 3 free throws coming.
Why do you leave your feet 30 feet from the basket? Just get your hands up. Look at Brima's length. He could have bothered that shot flat-footed. Instead, just forgets where he is and forgets the time and score. And once again, just giving away points.
They have to go to the monitor to make sure that the foul was committed with time on the clock. I believe on that first look that we got at it, the foul was committed before the clock went down to 0. So
absolutely,
the whistle had already blown at that point. The ball was already out of the hands, and then you saw the clock hit 0 and the lights go on. They also may have to put some time back on the game clock potentially with that clock hitting 0, and they'll put about a 1.5 seconds on the game clock here. So Connecticut could potentially get a shot off.
I'm thinking, though, Kevin Ollie's figuring, let's take a knee and get out of here.
He's having a chat with Anthony Jordan right now as Dedrick Lawson for 3 free throws misses the first one. There have been flashes of frustration all season long for Kevin Ollie and Connecticut. The injuries have a lot to do with it. Gilbert, Diarra, Larrier, major injuries, and he's had to battle all season long. But moments like that have added to the frustration.
And through it all, we watched practice time and time again, and Kevin Ollie has remained positive. And up until this game, over the last 6, it's really paid off.
14-point Memphis lead at the halftime break. Dedrick Lawson had 9 points. It was Craig Randall who came in hot off the bench with 11 for Tubby Smith's crew. A 40-26 Memphis lead. We got a really good Lawson in the studio. Kara Lawson, Chris Cotter coming up after these messages with our halftime report. Back at the XL Center and watching the American Conference on ESPN. Two teams that, if the conference tournament were to start today, would play each other in the 4-5 game. Memphis starting a really tough stretch of its final run on the road, playing very well. Adam Amin, Len Elmore back with you. Mike Bibby coached this guy back in his high school days out in Arizona. Craig Randall has stepped up off the bench, having one of his best games in American Conference play.
Well, you expect Dedrick Lawson and Markel Crawford to be among the leaders in scoring, but Craig Randall coming off the bench has really given Memphis a lift, and a lot of it is just by hanging around. UConn kind of forgetting about Randall, and here hung around on the perimeter, hung around the basket. When you hang around enough, you're going to find some good things. And once again, UConn late to get to Randall, and Randall's made him pay. 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, 11 points. Dedrick Lawson, the one surprising thing, only 1 rebound. But look at UConn. 10 of 30 from the field, 2 of 12 from 13. And we talk about Adams and Purvis. Together, they have 2 of 13 from the field. And that's not helping UConn's offense.
Kevin Ollie told us that his guards' struggles against Memphis the first time around were a big reason they lost. The guards have struggled a lot thus far. Connecticut trails by 14, the largest deficit that they have overcome this season in American Conference play, and for the entire season has been 13 against Tulane in an American Conference victory.
Right now, 14 of UConn's 26 points have come from their bigs. And that's Facey and Brima. I would go into them right away.
Jackson is able to knock down a rare Connecticut 3 tonight. His first points of the night, a guy who's been really good in American Conference play from 3-point range.
I'd still try to go back to my bigs.
I very much agree with you, man. We're going to have to see Brima and Facey be a factor on both ends of the floor in the second half for UConn.
Because what it does, it occupies the bigs, particularly Dedrick Lawson, because Memphis not in foul trouble by any stretch of the imagination. Only one guy has 2, and that's Jeremiah Martin. The rest have 1 or none.
So here is a touch for Brima with the double team coming. A good rotation for a Purvis 3. Brima down to the deck, and there is Lawson with a rebound.
Brima did a nice job getting to the weak side glass, but just couldn't hold on.
Tough take by KJ Lawson. Brima clears. Pull-up pop, Jalen Adams. And another rebound for the double-double machine, Dedrick Lawson, who's very much like a point forward and can bring the ball up the floor and help run the offense. Screening for Dedrick Lawson to maybe get him a good matchup. He'll step out on the perimeter against Brima. And Adams is fouled by Markel Crawford. It'll be his first.
And that was a shot that Lawson had to take. He's got to meet a Brima on him, who's very hesitant to step out and guard him on the perimeter. And, you know, it's a wide open shot. As I said, Lawson has made shots from beyond the arc. But you just don't want a steady diet of those.
Right. Adams working hard to get a look, and there's the second field goal of the night for Jalen Adams. Cuts the lead to 9. Memphis doing what it likes to do. Run in transition. Good look for Lawson, and here come the Huskies.
What did I say about a steady diet? It's going to make you sick.
Adams fouled by Lawson. So now Jalen Adams asserting himself for the Huskies.
And he's doing it the right way. We talked about his struggles from the field. You know, you got to be able to see the ball go through the basket. You go after high percentage shots when you're struggling from the perimeter. And Jalen Adams right there being more assertive, and it pays off.
Connecticut hurting itself at the foul line. They're 4 of 8 at the free throw stripe. 69% as a team. Adams leads the conference in assists, 7th in scoring, 2nd in minutes played. He has helped cut the UConn deficit down to 8. Lead in the first half for Memphis was as large as 17. A 6-0 Connecticut run in the first 2+ minutes of the half. KJ Lawson driving to the rim, and Brima coming over to try to beat him to the spot. Picks up the blocking foul. That's his second.
That was a good thought by Brahma as he comes off. Wow.
Very close.
He's entitled to that spot in that direction. You can draw a foul and still moving your feet if the offensive player breaks that plane between you.
And he was outside the restricted area as well. I agree with you. That's a pretty good play by Brymer. Those are the toughest calls for officials. The block, charge, bang, bang play like that. Martin, tough try, and he puts it home. Jeremiah Martin with 7.
That's 2 the hard way.
Yep. That was well earned by the sophomore from Memphis. Jackson spinning and cannot connect. Bryma's there for the rebound.
You talk about splitting shot blocker. Whew. Actually, 2 shot blockers facing
those
the
are
top
the 2
10
bigs right there
in the conference in shot block.
Those guys have combined for 100 blocks this year coming into action today.
But on this end, again, Amita Bryman doing a nice job of getting position down low, not really worrying about posting up, not worrying about getting the ball. He understands when his teammates are going to take it to the basket, establishes excellent position. We've seen it a number of times. Now he's just got to make it pay off for him if he doesn't.
Misses both free throws. 60% shooter at the stripe this year. Still a 10-point game. Dedrick Lawson in the post, trying to go baseline. Facey did a good job of blitzing. But with all that double teaming, somebody was open. Martin couldn't connect, though, for Memphis. Adams has been aggressive in this half and continues to be. He's got 5 already in the second stanza.
And he doesn't look any worse for the wear after in the first half taking a hard fall, seemingly injuring his right hip, but he came back out on the floor. And I guess the brother's loose now.
You said it. It's a cold building with the hockey rink over here. He needs some time to heat up, I guess. There's the double on Dedrick Lawson, and Bryma will pick up his 3rd foul.
See, I know in the zest and the zeal of trying to pick up fouls, and I think Bryma kind of hurt himself a little bit. You know, sometimes taking position is enough. You don't have to, you know, try to draw the offensive foul. Take that position and hold it. Because if you don't get the call, it's either going to go against you or you're out of the play because you hit the deck.
Another foul drawn this time by KJ Lawson. Bryma was very much favoring something, whether it was kind of in the hip area or something like that.
Go ahead.
It was a rough spot for Amita Bryma to be in. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We've got national headlines on the other side, mercifully and thankfully. 8-point game here, Memphis on top. Thought it was interesting to see some of the news that came out earlier today about Mark Gottfried, the head coach at North Carolina State. He has been fired, but will coach the team for the rest of the year, a team that seemingly is on the bubble every year and can at least put a scare into some teams in the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga's up double figures on San Francisco. They've won every conference game by double figures this year. And Arizona, UCLA, Oregon all in action. And Oregon has a 20-point lead on Utah at home, trying to extend their home win streak to 41 up at Matthew Knight Arena.
Well, I agree. If Mark Gottfried has to go in NC State, you know, you got to appreciate the fact that they didn't leave him hanging out to dry, so to speak, for the rest of the season, not letting them know what's going on. And that's going to be tough to fill that job, because a lot of coaches, a lot of ex-coaches look at that job and say that's a rough neighborhood to hang out in with Duke and Carolina.
You want to be
a burgeoning Wake Forest now.
Exactly. You want to be in the gauntlet of the ACC. As Purvis drives in and had it blocked by Jamario Rivers. It'll stay at this end of the floor. I think you bring up an interesting point too, Lenny, because some people would say, well, I mean, why would you tell him now? Why would you tell Godfrey that he's out now? But I would tend to agree with you. At least everybody knows where they stand now.
Including the young
players. Yeah. They've got Notre Dame coming up on Saturday as well, so I'm sure that's going to be an interesting feel for that North Carolina State season.
And people are wondering, if you're the coach and you know you're out, would you finish coaching? Would you see a breakaway? And I'd say yes, because I made a commitment to those guys.
Sure.
And I'm going to see it through. I mean, the bottom line, you know, I'm still a coach with pride. I still think I can win. And they may disagree with me in the athletic department, but let me prove them wrong.
Perhaps that gives this North Carolina State team a little life towards the end of the season. 4-point game. Vance Jackson taking it into traffic, and Ray Natili will call a tie-up. Possession arrow belongs to the Tigers.
See the help coming over.
Wow.
That's a tie-up, all right. Bound, gagged, and knocked down. Tough call from UConn.
KJ Lawson came over right into Vance Jackson's face. He's got the ball here, picked up by Facey. To his brother, Diedrich, for 3. About a 25% three-point shooter, and he's into double figures now with 12. The lead back up to 15, largest of the second half. Facey maneuvering in the paint, and a foul.
I talked about being able to stretch the defense. And you see Lawson just rolling to the top right there, and the hesitancy to come out and guard him. And he's 1 of 3 from beyond the arc. A little bit better than his 25% three-point shooting would tell you.
Tubby Smith was getting after it with Anthony Jordan. Anthony Jordan told Tubby Smith, hey, settle things down, make sure you're back in the coach's box. Understandable, as Tubby didn't think there should have been a foul called against KJ Lawson, but we've seen a foul each way perhaps, or call each way perhaps each trip.
And you can disagree with the officials, but when you're up 15, you use a different tone.
Sure. Well, if anybody knows the ins and outs of maneuvering around with the officials, it's a guy in Tubby Smith, 65 years of age, and in his 26th season as a head coach, has seen about as much success as any coach in college basketball. Several standards.
You know, with this lead on Memphis, I try to look for KJ Lawson, try to get him off the schneid. He's 0 for 5. He's a third leading scorer.
Just 4 points. No field goals for KJ Lawson. Good look for 3 for KJ, and Facey's there for the rebound. He's got 8 of those tonight. A 14-point game. Purvis gave it up to get the freshman sharpshooter Vital a good look for 3.
I mentioned Vital came into this game averaging about 14 points over the last 5 games. And there, a nice job by him defensively.
Drawing the KJ Lawson offensive foul. A little bit of an elbow thrown in traffic by Lawson in that one-on-one matchup. Jackson, Purvis, Adams, Vital, and Facey, the 5 out there for UConn. Purvis has been very quiet. Adams has gotten a little more aggressive in the second half, taking it to the paint. He's now got 9, and it's a 9-point game. Good positioning inside by Rivers, but he lost it. And back behind the play, Vital is still under the basket stanchion. And I believe, is that Jalen Adams? Yes, Adams and Vital are both underneath the bucket after a lot of contact underneath the rim on the previous trip. And James Doran immediately comes over to check on Vital, who is still on his belly. Some serious concern. Adams is back up and walking around, but Vital being tended to by James Doran.
It was all in the effort of trying to thwart the high-low and the lob. See Rivers right there, and the two guys just collide trying to help each other.
12:26 to play. We'll step aside. Well, a lot of concern momentarily for Christian Vital and Jalen Adams, who went colliding into each other, trying to help defend against Jamario Rivers. This is real time. Good positioning inside by Rivers.
I'll tell you, sometimes that's when the home crowd, as they get back into the ball game and they're making noise, they can work against the home team on the defensive end. You know, you talk about communication on defense, and maybe they might not have had enough time to communicate to each other, but they never would have hurt each other had they done it. The bottom line is they seem both to be okay.
And you make a great point, Lenny, because the direction Memphis is playing offense right now goes right into the UConn student section. So that is a loud contingent as, again, UConn has cut what was once a 17-point deficit down to 9. It's been as large as 15 here in the second half. So Adams and Vital both on the floor with Purvis and Jackson and Facey. Shot clock at 4. Purvis takes a 3. And a good job by Dedrick Lawson to fight off Facey for the rebound.
Yeah, I'm just wondering again, you got to see Jackson down there in a mismatch with Jeremiah Martin guarding him on the block, and they never really took a look at him. He's got Martin on his back, and he's had some success down low. You got to go for the high percentage opportunity, especially when the shot clock is running down.
Late in the clock again. Here is Randall, who had the big first half and picks up right where he left off with now 13 points. The guy who averages 5.8. He's got 13.
He had a bad angle, but put a little English on it and translated it into points. That's when you're feeling it.
Adams with the blow by. Offensive rebound. No, Jackson nearly had it. It was stripped away by Jeremiah Martin, but a tie-up and the possession arrow to Connecticut.
Well, we talk about feeling. Craig Randall just going straight to the basket, using the left hand. Not a great angle, but had enough spin on it to get it through there. And he's the one guy in the Memphis team right now offensively that's been assertive.
Vital. Rebounded by Jamario Rivers.
And once again, UConn settling. You know, not one touch on the block to play inside out to put pressure on the Memphis defense.
Deflected by the freshman Vital. Comes Connecticut. Here's a post touch, yep, and a foul called on Randall, who has a significant size disadvantage against Kenton Facey.
I mean, in a game like this where there are a number of mismatches in UConn's favor, the first look should always be inside. Doesn't mean that the guy inside has to shoot it.
Right.
But you're putting pressure on the defense, forcing them to adapt, and it makes the perimeter shots a little bit easier.
It will be bonus the rest of the way for Connecticut. Purvis off the overcommit from Jamario Rivers is able to knock down his second 3 of the night. And UConn as close as it has been since trailing by 17. And a Memphis turnover will give it to the Huskies. A Tubby timeout with 10:09 to go. Lenny, you talked about it. Adams and Purvis struggled in the first meeting. They struggled in the first half. Adams has been more assertive, and here, a big bucket for Rodney Purvis to help Connecticut get back into this game. Hype like Len Elmore. I'm telling you. You guys don't see it. When we're driving in the car over to the game, music's pumping, it's blaring. That's Lenny in the front seat. 8-point Memphis lead. Take your pick of this Saturday six-pack, man. What sticks out to you?
Well, obviously Notre Dame, NC State. We'll see how NC State responds after, Mark Godfrey's dismissal. Obviously Kansas versus Baylor. Kansas with that miracle comeback against West Virginia. You're going on the road. And obviously Virginia and Carolina. Virginia got to find a way now to kind of get their mojo back.
They stick with a high-powered offensive team like UNC and a high-powered rebounding team like North Carolina, one of the best in the country.
And Memphis going zone right now, trying to find a way to stop the UConn perimeter game.
It is Adams. It's a three. Adams and Purvis stepping up in the second half, and the lead has been trimmed down to 5. Tipped alive, and another chance for the Tigers.
And you see Memphis obviously rattled the fact that they haven't been able to even get up shots. 4 turnovers in the last 5 possessions. They've kind of forgotten about their big fella.
Ray Natili under the rim, calling a foul against UConn, against Vance Jackson.
All right, you're going to take a look right here. And right here, and stepping up again, take a look over here as well. Coming up to the top to bring the middle guy up. And then that leaves just enough room for Jalen Adams to step into the 3.
Good spacing of the floor that time by UConn. Jeremiah Martin is at the line. He made the first of 2 free throws off the Jackson foul. He's got 9 points tonight. He had been struggling scoring the last few games.
And it just shows you how important movement without the ball is against the zone as well.
Too often we see offenses get stagnant when the defense shifts things up and changes things up. Vital taking the contact. Here comes Memphis. Crowd wanted a foul. Vital gets back defensively for what feels like a really important possession for both of these teams. Macy has to go back and recover on Dedrick Lawson and do his best to try to keep him out of the paint. Now it's Purvis guarding Lawson. The shot clock at 2. KJ Lawson with a clutch, cold-blooded 3 at the end of the clock.
And I was just going to say that his brother Dedrick, when he cuts down to the post, he's got to be more aggressive and force the passer to look at him. Going to take a look. Watch the cut down low. Dedrick Lawson doesn't ask for it. But KJ won and makes up for the inability to get the ball inside.
Man, was that a big-time bucket?
Now that's more assertive, but the ball's thrown away.
Adams careening all the way inside with a difficult reverse layup. A big second half for Jalen Adams. He's got 12 of the 22 in the second half for UConn. Inside of 8 to play. Martin, tough shot over Vital. Loose to the Huskies. Jackson didn't force it. Adams is open.
That was almost too easy.
Facey has the guard Dedrick Lawson in the post.
See, on that high screen and roll, Dedrick Lawson rolls to the basket open, and it's almost too late.
Facey the knockaway. Adams the pass. Purvis the dunk. And it's a 6-point game.
Boy, missed opportunity to get the ball inside. Gives UConn ample opportunity to score on the other end. Much better execution by Memphis there.
Markel Crawford with a good 2 on the Dedrick Lawson feed. 6 minutes to go. Facey wants the ball. He's working against Lawson. Here is Facey. Oh, iron unkind there, as our old buddy Tim Brando would say.
Facey's getting the shot that he wants.
Yep, and he wanted the ball the entire possession. They gave it to him.
The only thing I would say is go straight up rather than fade.
Beautiful cut to the rim, and Crawford will go to the free throw line. Memphis continues to keep UConn at arm's length, but some life offensively from the Husky guards in the second.
Yeah, they got the crowd into it. They've been doing it with defense, with athleticism.
Chris Cotter in Bristol, updating you on Arizona and Washington State. It took the Wildcats a while to get going out in the Palouse, but once they did, Lowry Markkanen found his game, 19-10, so it's a big lead right now for Arizona. Meanwhile, a couple other scores to get you caught up on over on ESPN. Oregon, no issues with Utah. #1 team in the country, Gonzaga, 23 points better than San Fran. Back to Adam and Len at the state-of-the-art Excel Center, guys.
CC, thanks very much. Gonzaga's trying to do something that no team has done in the last 20 years, and that's win all of their conference games by double digits. You heard CC say it just a moment ago. Up big on San Francisco tonight.
And regardless of what you project them to do in the NCAA tournament, et cetera, again, the polls are a snapshot. And remember, what was it, about a month ago?
Yep.
Who was calling and advocating for them?
I give you a lot of credit, man, and rightfully so. The polls necessarily aren't indicative of who is the best team for the full body of work, because when you have preseason polls, you're not playing from a vacuum. You're playing from a barometer that has already been set. But right now, Gonzaga is the #1 team, and rightfully so, is an undefeated club.
And they're beating everybody that they won. And if you want to look backwards, you know, they played people and they beat people.
Yep. Florida, Iowa State, they played a really tough non-conference, too. Still an 8-point game. Jalen Adams hits a 3, and the lead is down to 5 with 5:08 to go.
And I'm not sure why Memphis persists in that zone, because it's still a passive zone. It doesn't come out and aggressively go after the shooters. And that's why UConn has found some open opportunities. On the other end, though, Memphis is taking it right to the Huskies.
That was a great take by Jeremiah Martin, who's made some tough buckets all night.
Memphis back into their man. That's not a smart play. Dedrick Lawson, you got to move your feet. Now take a look at the passivity of this zone. Ball moves from one side, the middle, and back to Adams. You got to get there. But once again, being assertive against a UConn zone is going to pay off dividends as well. Both teams have to be more aggressive, have to be smarter, and have to play the angles on the defensive end.
UConn has struggled at the free throw line all night. 7 of 14 now as Facey makes the front end. 4 double-doubles in his last 9 games, as we mentioned. Playing in his 114th career game, and he has cut the lead back down to 5. Approaching 4.5 to go. Big seeding game when you think about the future conference tournament here at the XL Center in just 3 weeks.
And I like the idea of using The half-court pressure is tempo control and drop back in to a zone.
Knocked away by Adams. Vital all the way. Three-point game. Kevin Ollie imploring his defense to put their hands up. The shot clock at 6 for Crawford. Deep try, Randall. Long rebound, Markel Crawford. And Tubby Smith puts his hands up, says settle it down. Let's get a good look.
On one side, Coach Ollie as animated as you can be. On the other side, Coach Smith trying to be as cool.
A 21-year difference between these two excellent coaches. National championship winners. Late in the clock, Jeremiah Martin flings it into the air. Here comes Purvis, and Carl Hess will whistle the play dead as a shot clock violation. Kevin Ollie is very upset because it would have been a breakout for UConn to cut the lead to 1. Instead, Carl Hess says shot clock violation, and it's a 3-point game at the 3-minute mark here in Hartford.
Not only is it a side inbounds, but it's also a timeout. It gives Memphis a chance to regroup. Take a look at the shot clock at the top of your screen. Ball goes up. The violation right before Purvis gets possession. The correct call.
UConn trailed by 17 in the first half, by 15 here in the second half. And Jalen Adams, as he often does, has helped Connecticut get back into this game.
Well, he began his second half 1 of 6 from the field. And now 7 of 15 as he is really taking it upon himself to inject some life into the UConn offense. Not only knocking down perimeter shots, but again exploring that Memphis defense.
Kevin Ollie told us that the struggles of his guards, the first meeting against Memphis, were a big reason why Connecticut was unable to win that game. Adams and Purvis struggled in the first half tonight. Those two have combined for 20 in the second half. Those are the two leading scorers this season for UConn. Again, a moment ago, shot clock violation called against Memphis, stopping a UConn break. Len Elmore thought, and I agreed with him, that it was the right call, but a chance to tie it with a 3, to cut it to 1 with a 2.
We'll see if that violation and the timeout were a motivation killer, a momentum killer, I should say.
Lawson picks up his 4th foul. They went backdoor to Amita Brima, and the struggling free throw shooter at 1 for 4 tonight will go to the stripe. The best shot blockers in the country, a big-bodied presence. Big free throw. Into double figures goes Amita Brima to go along with a 3-rebound night.
Well, UConn was hoping that Amita Brima of last year's free throw shooting would show up. He was an 80% free throw shooter last year.
How about those two clutch runs to make it a 1-point game with 2:40 to go.
And look at how UConn again hacking below that line, almost daring the 3-point shot.
Dedrick Lawson going backdoor to his brother. The shot clock at 3. Open 3, Martin. Slapped by Facey into the hands of Lawson. Lost it on the way up. On the baseline, it's picked up by Rodney Purvis. UConn shoots for its first lead since the first half. Adams for the lead. Purvis sticking with Crawford. The shot clock at 6. In the hands of Dedrick Lawson. Pumping and firing. In and out. Brima tipped it to Facey. 1:23 to go.
And it goes back to what we saw throughout this game. When UConn needed a good stop in the half court, they were able to play some lockdown defense. And that's the way they're going to have to play for this remaining 1 minute and 19 seconds. And you talk about shooting a teardrop. He also drew a teardrop from the Memphis faithful.
That was a giant killer in the biggest sense for the sophomore, who has put up 17 in the second half. And he has put UConn back in front. Both teams with 2 timeouts remaining. Oregon on its way to making it 41 consecutive wins at home as they were blowing out Utah. And when that game is done over on ESPN, Bucci and Anderson, the John Teff Sports Center at night. Latest from the hardwood, from the ice, and latest spring training news. You Mets fans will see Thor on the mound on opening day. I love Terry Collins' line earlier today. Unless Bartolo Colon was here, there was no question that Noah Syndergaard was going to open up the season. That's Sports Center at night on ESPN. Lenny said it. 79 seconds to go. UConn with a 1-point lead and the basketball. This was the American Conference Tournament matchup in the finals a year ago. The tournament starts in 3 weeks. This is a big game. They're tied in the loss column. Both want to stay in the top 5. Both have tough stretches in the final run of the season. This is a very important game.
And for Memphis, they haven't scored in the last 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Attribute that to some very strong Husky defense.
Dedrick Lawson is on the bench. Remember, he has 4 fouls, so on this defensive possession, Tubby Smith has Dedrick Lawson on the bench, hoping to avoid a 5th foul. Adams has Martin on him. Now Rivers on the switch. 7 to shoot. Adams wants the clear out. Adams lost it. Memphis for the lead.
The matchup, Jamario Rivers with those long arms able to tip the ball away.
Tubby Smith will use one of his 2 remaining timeouts. One final reminder, big college basketball day on Saturday. You'll see Kentucky go on the road, sitting right at the top of the SEC with Florida and South Carolina. And then big one, Saturday primetime, presented by AT&T. Virginia and North Carolina from Chapel Hill. That will be the site of game day. Here we are, 47.9 remaining. What do you want to see if you're Tubby Smith in this next offensive possession? Still 21 on the shot clock.
Well, first of all, you got to play offense, defense. That means Dedrick Lawson back in the ball game.
Yep.
Lawson has had some success setting a high screen and then rolling to the basket as Memphis reverses the ball to his side. The problem is, too often, the guy who receives the ball on Dedrick Lawson's side doesn't recognize Lawson's being open quickly enough, and ultimately they're forced into a bad shot. If they're going to run that play, that guy has to be very aware of Lawson's presence, and he's open down low, because that's the guy you want to get the ball to if you can.
The top 5 teams in this conference at the end of the regular season do not have to play on day 1, the Thursday of the American tournament. You're in the top 5, you get to skip to the quarterfinals on Friday. These 2 teams aren't necessarily deep. So 4 games to try to win the conference title is a tall task for these 2 shorter bench teams. So they both want to be in the top 5. Keep an eye out for number 1 in black. That is Dedrick Lawson. Plenty of time on this possession, so watch your big man for Memphis. See where he goes. And he's going to post up against Amina Brima.
They come out in the zone, UConn, so the high screen and roll doesn't necessarily work.
The clock is all the way down to 5. And a turnover. No! It touched Brima. It was a drive by Martin. From our angle, I thought he had just lost it, but Brima was last to touch. Anthony Jordan was right on top of the call, and there's 4 to shoot.
You got to see if UConn matches up man or zone for this inbound play.
Now they're going to go to the monitor to take a look. I do like that Ray Natili and Carl Hess and Anthony Jordan got together and said, hey, we're in the final 2 minutes. We can go to the monitor. Let's take a look.
And this is what they're going to see. The ball did go off of Breima's right foot.
Absolutely the right call. Well done by Anthony Jordan. And I think this will be a very short review. Or maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. Again, only 4 on the shot clock here, though. This is a quick-moving offense. If you're Memphis, that's what you need on this possession to try to take the lead. You see Amina Breima right in the heart of Kevin Ali's huddle, pumping his fist, trying to make sure his teammates know where they need to be. And he might have the assignment on Lawson.
Well, you got to get good spacing to create some opportunities to offensive rebound. Lawson did cut. It is Lawson. Late in the clock over Breima. A shot clock violation did not hit the rim. You're right, Lenny. 27 seconds to go. Kevin Ali will use a timeout here with 27 seconds remaining. Well, if you're going to take a look, Memphis has 18 fouls. UConn only has 5. And I suspect, again, Memphis will have to try for one quick steal. And then you got to extend the ball game. I would imagine the 2 guys that you're looking at, if you're Memphis, to foul are Breima, who did just hit 2 free throws, by the way, at the line, and perhaps Vance Jackson, if he is in the game, a 65% shooter. Vital and Adams are right around 80%. Same thing with Purvis. And Memphis still has time. You can go for a steal, I would think, too. Yeah, that's what I figured you have to. You got to go for one steal. Of course, you have time to do so. But it will be Vital to inbound. And you also have to protect the basket. Yep, for a home run ball, perhaps. They did send Facey long, and last touch by Memphis. He had a shot at it with Martin cutting the passing lane for Adams. That's an awful lot of room. Obviously, UConn wants to give their cutters an opportunity to cut to the open spots. But in doing so, you give the defender an opportunity. And there's not protecting the basket. Vital got loose and throws it down. It's a 3-point game with 23.7 to go. Don't necessarily need a 3 if you're Memphis right now. Unless you take your time. That's right. Purvis nearly stripped it, and Tubby Smith is forced to use a timeout with 13.7 to go. Man, we talked about it in the first inbounds. You got to protect the basket. Yep. They forgot about Vital. You got to leave guys in front of you. And take a look right here. He's just going to take off. You know, it's funny, too, on the previous play, Lenny, Vital was the inbounder. They switched the inbounder that time, and nobody picked up Vital. Yeah, guys have to, one, you have to account for everybody on the floor. Every guy has a point. Every defender has a point to the man that they have. Secondly, you want to keep those guys in front of you. You never allow somebody to get behind you. That time, Memphis failed on both. So now Memphis, if you're going to do it, go for a 2, yeah, I would imagine you have to go relatively quickly. Otherwise, you're going to have to take a 3 to tie this game. And that's a decision that has to be made right now. As soon as the ball is inbounded, whoever receives is either going to go to the basket or they're going to have to take a 3, depending on where they receive it. It is Crawford, got it slapped away by Purvis. Crawford, tough 3, short. Offensive rebound. Into the corner. Martin, in and out. It's thrown down for 2. 1.9 to go. Vital gets it. Purvis will throw it down. And Connecticut with a huge comeback on Memphis to win it in Hartford tonight. UConn able to right the ship with outstanding defense in the second half. And some timely scoring, particularly Jalen Adams leading the way. And this is a team that's come a long, long way. The last time these two teams met on January 5th, after that loss in Memphis, I think Kevin Ollie and group thought that that was the low point of their season. Yet, they've come back now and won now 6 out of their last 7 games.
A 10-2 run to close it out for Kevin Ollie's team. They allowed just 2 points in the final minutes. They went from down 60 to 53 to winning it 63-62. Jalen Adams had 17 of his 19 in the second half. And a very important seeding game between UConn and Memphis belongs to the Huskies in spectacular comeback fashion. 63-62, the final score. Man, the American Conference Tournament starts in 3 weeks. It's going to be fun. For Len Elmore, our great crew, Adam Amin Singh, so long from Hartford. NFL Live is coming up. What a comeback for UConn tonight.